Welcome back to another video of UK Knowledge Guru. In today's video, we will learn sponsor duties managing third-party work for skilled worker. Many sponsors are confused that whether they can hire someone and put them to work for third party, especially the IT company. So for example, you got a contract with another company and you wanted to hire someone and they should work for another company on contract basis. Is this allowed or not? In this video, I have showed that recruitment companies are not allowed to hire staff and put them to work for another company. In this video, we will discuss what do we mean by sponsor duties for contracted skilled workers. We will also discuss is working for third parties by a sponsored workers prohibited. How sponsors can retain control over sponsored workers in third party contracts. We will also discuss prohibited third-party work when sponsorship is not permitted. In the end, we will discuss the supplementary work for skilled workers. Now, without wasting time, let's start. So, is working for third parties by a sponsored worker prohibited? That's what the question is. Sponsored workers are not prohibited from working for third parties as such. The sponsor will nevertheless need to be careful that sponsored worker is being employed by the sponsor to fulfill a contractual obligation to third party on the sponsor's behalf. So what does this mean? So you cannot go and work for someone else on their payroll and they pay you. But yes, you can work for your own company, but your own company can ask you to go and work for someone else for a limited time of period. We'll discuss that later in this video as an example. Any arrangement where the sponsored worker is effectively working for the third party is not permitted, since the sponsor would no longer have control over the migrant's work, and this would be a breach of the sponsor duties. Now the question is how sponsor can retain control over sponsored worker in third-party contracts. How this can be done. The sponsor duties require that the sponsor remains responsible for the worker's role at all time, because you are the authorizing officer and you are responsible. The sponsor guidance part 2 offers some guidance on how to retain control over the duties, functions, outcomes and output of one's migrant worker. So I'll put this link in the description as well. This is the sponsor license guidance. I'll put the link of this guidance in the description. This is the guidance and it was updated on 1st of January 2025. So on the left side, you can see about this guidance: sponsoring work overview, certificate of sponsorship, assigning a COS, pay conditions, immigration skill charge after you have assigned COS, immigration requirement, conditions of stay, extension. So they have mentioned everything over here and the link is in the description, so you can use that if you wanted to know further. Further over here, it says working on a contract basis. So if I click on this, this will tell me the example. This is the example. Now, if I try to explain you this example, company A has a contractual obligation with a client company Z to deliver an IT solution within agreed period of time. A worker who is responsible by company A to do a job on the IT project may be sent to work for the length of the contract at company Z premises, but they remain employed by company A throughout the whole period of the contract. As a company A is fully responsible for all the workers' duties, functions, output or outcomes, company A can be the worker's sponsor and therefore assign the COS. So this example is provided from the gov.uk. So let's discuss the duties, functions, details in detail. The third party contract should outline a defined service project to be delivered by the migrant worker. So what he will actually meant to achieve, what will be the task, what will be the duties. The service project should be provided within a certain period of time. So there has to be a specific time, like 3 months, 1 month, 24 hours or day contract. It cannot be for long term. After this service project has been completed, the migrant worker will stop providing its services to the third party. So migrant worker is currently working for company A and that's why he's doing it. So let's discuss it with an example. So as an example, company A, the sponsor, is sponsoring Elizabeth as a software testing consultant. Company A enters into a contractual agreement with the third party, company B, to conduct test on the software across their company. As part of this contract, they ask Elizabeth to provide consultancy services for company B. This contract will commence on 1st of March 2025, includes the running of tests on all of the company B's technology devices, detecting faults and offering solution. Will require Elizabeth to report to company B's office in person 2 days a week. Will conclude on 31st March 2025. So this example is exactly as per the guidance provided by the Home Office. The date says what the employee will be doing, where the employee will be working, and how many days, how many hours, and when this contract will end. So this is a 30 days contract. Further, it says Elizabeth will remain employed by company A for the duration of this contract. It will remain fully responsible for her duties, functions, output, and responsibilities, ensuring compliance with their sponsor duties. Company A may therefore sponsor Elizabeth and assign her a certificate of sponsorship. Now, all this, where you will mention this all needs to be mentioned on the cover letter. When you're applying for the sponsor license, you need to mention this. Don't assume stuff. Watch this video. I've showed how to write a cover letter using ChatGPT. So you can write a good draft using ChatGPT. So this can help you. Now let's discuss when sponsorship is not permitted. So we have discussed earlier that it was the permitted case. Now when it is not permitted, when you are not allowed. So migrant may not be sponsored when the sponsor does not retain full responsibilities for all the duties, functions and outcome or outputs of the job they will be doing. Outputs of the job, what does that mean? So obviously if someone was meant to develop an app, and he didn't manage that. So who is responsible for it? So obviously the company who issued the COS, they are responsible. So if he's working for another company and they are not liable for that mistake because he's on contract with company A. The contractual arrangement effectively amounts to hiring the sponsored migrant out to a third party organization who is not sponsoring them to fulfill this role, regardless of whether the role is temporarily permanent or any genuine contract between the sponsor and third party. So what if there is no contract? They didn't mention any dates, they didn't mention anything what will be the achievement. So that's not allowed. That means it's not permitted. The contractual arrangement requires the sponsored migrant to perform an ongoing routine services or perform an ongoing routine role to the third party organization, which they are not being sponsored by, regardless of the length or nature of this agreement. So even if it's a 1-day contract, if it's not done by a contractual agreement and nothing was discussed and the employee started working for them, providing them a service, that's not allowed. The Home Office will also look beyond the wordings of the third party contractual agreement to determine the true nature of a contract. They are entitled to undertake checks with third parties to assess whether the sponsor has relinquished full control over all the duties, functions, output or outcomes of a migrant worker, or whether they are supplying a sponsored worker to a third party to perform a routine role. For example, you opened a healthcare company and then you hired someone as a nurse and then you put that nurse in a private hospital or give it to any other company to work for. That's not allowed. If they discover this to be the case, this is the reason for which they will revoke a sponsor license. If the above contractual arrangement between company A and company B involved Elizabeth offering software testing consultancy service whenever software issues arise for company B, this would amount to be providing ongoing routine service or performing an ongoing routine role, as she would effectively be an employee of company B and company B would have control over her duties, functions and outcome or outputs. Company A would not be permitted to sponsor Elizabeth in this scenario. If company A already holds a sponsor license, this would lead to it being revoked. So what we have understood from this, that if there is a proper contract, date mentioned, work mentioned, it's all allowed. In this case, nothing was like, she was doing testing, but what was happening, whenever the software having some issues, she was coming and started working for company B. So this is an ongoing, this was not a part of a contract. So you have to understand what do we mean by contract and then work accordingly. Now let's discuss supplementary work for skilled workers. What do we mean by that? Watch this video. I've showed about supplementary and secondary worker in detail. Supplementary work is permitted under certain circumstances and would not be regarded as working for a third party on a contract basis if these requirements are met. Following a rule change on 4th April 2024, the Home Office amended the requirement to make it easier for skilled worker to undertake supplementary work. In addition to the job specified in the COS, worker can do extra work if it's in a skilled worker occupation capable of sponsorship. Now, what is the skilled worker occupation capable of sponsorship? So for that, we will go on gov.uk, the only genuine website. We will write skilled worker visa, click on skilled worker visa, click on your job, and in your job, you will go down, look for the going rate tables. This going rate table will tell you the salaries requirement, but view the table of eligible jobs. It's the same table, but this will only tell you the code where you can work. So this was updated on 13th February 2025, and these are the codes. So you are allowed to work in these codes. Over here it clearly says occupation codes changed on 4th April 2024. The table is sorted in order of occupation code with the smallest number at the top. Okay, if you cannot find your job, okay, that's just the details over here, but this is the table they are talking about. So if your job is on that code and it says yes, okay, the most important part is yes. It doesn't mean just a table, because someone recently asked me that question, that I'm allowed to work as I don't know which job was that. So over here, if you go down, you will see somewhere it says no as well. See that this is no. So for example, someone wanted to work as library assistant, library clerk, library supervisor is not allowed. Course administrator, human resource administrator, personal administrator, training administrator, that's also not allowed. It says no. So office supervisor is not, it says no. So 4142 is straight away no. Data entry administrator, so no. Medical secretaries, so clinic coordinator, clinic administrator is not also allowed. Legal secretaries, that's not allowed. So this is the code we are talking about. Which jobs are allowed, which jobs are not allowed. So this is how you check that which jobs are allowed to work and which jobs are not allowed to work. So call center agent, call center operative, customer service operator, they are not allowed to work. So they cannot get COS. They cannot work part-time 20 hours as well. So if you're working in a KFC as a team member on graduate visa and now you switch to skilled worker visa, you cannot work as a team member in KFC anymore because it's not allowed. So no more than 20 hours a week. That's another thing. So maximum you are allowed to work 20 hours. Okay, now how the Home Office will come to know? Because people think that they will never come to know. You are risking your ILR, because obviously on your HMRC gateway account, you can see that how many hours you have worked. Your pay slips will show that. Your tax will show that. Everything is reflected. And if you're working like 2 jobs, so someone recently came across working 2 jobs full time. So that's not allowed. You are only allowed no more than 20 hours a week. So 37.5 in your main job and 20 hours over here. 67.5 hours. 57.5 hours maximum you can work technically outside the working hours covered by the COS. So you can do, for example, like a charity work, voluntary work, anything you are not getting paid, that can be possible, because that's and you can also study as well. That's not a problem, but you cannot work full time and getting paid. If you meet the above requirement, you do not need to inform the Home Office before taking an extra work. If you meet these requirements, you don't need to inform the Home Office.